The champagne glasses sparkled under the ballroom lights. I watched my husband Derek climb onto the small stage. His smile wide and confident. 25 years of marriage, and I still got nervous when he spoke in public. Not because he was bad at it. Derek was excellent at commanding a room. I was nervous because lately something felt different. Well, before we proceed, thank you for watching Her Voice Narrative. Please subscribe and tell us where watching from in the comment section. Our anniversary party filled the entire grand ballroom of the Riverside Hotel. 300 guests. White roses everywhere because Derek said they photographed best. My daughter Jessica stood near the dessert table with her boyfriend. My son David talked with his college friends by the bar. They barely looked at me all night. When did I become invisible to my own children? Derek tapped the microphone. The room went quiet. Everyone turned to face him, including me. I smoothed down my silver dress, the one I had spent weeks choosing. Derek had barely noticed it when I showed him this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, Derek began. His voice filled every corner of the room. Thank you for celebrating this milestone with Victoria and me. 25 wonderful years together. People clapped. I smiled, even though my hands were shaking. This was our moment, our celebration. You know, Derek continued, his tone shifting. I have been thinking about what makes a marriage last. What makes it work through all the challenges. I leaned forward slightly. We never really talked about what made our marriage work. We just existed side by side. And I realized something important, Derek said. His smile got wider. Success in marriage comes from knowing your place. Understanding who does what. Something cold settled in my stomach. The way he said it felt calculated. Prepared. Let me be honest here, Derek said. He gestured around the beautiful ballroom. I made the money. I built the empire. I created the lifestyle we all enjoy. Victoria. She changed diapers and organized playdates. The words hit me like ice water. Felt my breath stop. Felt the blood drain from my face. The room erupted in uncomfortable laughter. Not real laughter. The nervous kind people make when they witness something terrible. But Derek was not finished. She's lucky I kept her, he said. His smile looked sharp now. Dangerous. Really, what else could she do? No real skills. No education that matters in the real world. She has been living off my success for 25 years. Complete silence fell over the ballroom. Even the waiters stopped moving. I could feel 300 pairs of eyes on me. Feel their pity pressing down on me like a weight. My hands trembled. My vision blurred with tears. 25 years reduced to diaper changing and luck. 25 years of supporting his dreams. Raising his children. Running his household. Being the perfect wife. All dismissed in seconds. I started to stand. I needed to escape. Needed to find somewhere to hide and process what just happened. But before I could move, another voice cut through the silence. Excuse me. The voice was calm but carried power that made everyone turn. Including Derek. Turn to. My heart completely stopped. Cameron Reed stood at the edge of the stage. Tall, silver-haired, and commanding. 25 years had been kind to him. He looked distinguished now. Successful. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than most cars. But he moved with the same quiet confidence he had as a design student. What was he doing here? Then I remembered. Cameron owned this hotel. He owned the entire Riverside hotel chain. Properties across 20 countries. I had read about his success over the years. Always with mixed feelings I could never examine too closely. Derek blinked, his confidence shaking. I'm sorry. Who are you? Cameron stepped onto the stage smoothly. I am Cameron Reed. I own this hotel. His voice was pleasant but had steel underneath. And I need to interrupt your speech. Derek pulled the microphone back. His jaw tightened. I am in the middle of something important. You are in the middle of humiliating a remarkable woman, Cameron said clearly. And I will not allow that to continue in my establishment. The ballroom became a theater. Every guest frozen by the drama unfolding. I sat unable to move, my heart pounding so hard everyone must have heard it. Cameron gently but firmly took the microphone from Derek. When he spoke, his voice filled the room with authority. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for this interruption, but I think you should know something about the woman this man just insulted." He turned to look directly at me. Something in his expression made my breath catch. It was the same look he gave me 25 years ago when he asked me to marry him. The same look I turned away from because Derek represented safety. "Victoria is not lucky," Cameron said. His eyes never left mine. "She is not fortunate to have been kept by anyone. She is the one who got away. And I have been waiting 25 years for this man to make exactly this kind of mistake." The silence was absolute. No one moved. No one breathed. No one could process what they just heard. Derek's face went from confident to confused to panicked. What are you talking about? Who are you to her?" Cameron finally looked away from me. He faced my husband with an unreadable expression. "I am the man who loved her first. The man who would have spent every day of the last 25 years making sure she knew exactly how extraordinary she is." The microphone fell from Derek's limp hand. It hit the stage with a screech that made people wince. But I barely heard it over the roaring in my ears. "Cameron loved me first. Still did he still." "Victoria," Cameron said, stepping to the edge of the stage. He extended his hand toward me. "Would you like to get some air? I think we need to talk." I looked at his outstretched hand, then at Derek's stricken face, then at 300 shocked expressions around me, everyone waiting to see what I would do. Would I take the hand being offered or stay in my chair where I had just been publicly destroyed? For the first time in 25 years, the choice was completely mine. I stood up. My legs were somehow steady despite the earthquake in my chest. I walked toward the stage, toward Cameron's waiting hand, toward a future I could not imagine. Behind me, Derek's voice was small and panicked. "Victoria, do not you dare. Do not you dare walk away from me." But I was already walking. For the first time in decades, I was not looking back. The night air hit my face as Cameron led me through the hotel private exit, away from the stares and whispers following us out of the ballroom. My hand was still in his. Could not let go. Felt like an anchor. We walked through elegant corridors until he stopped at glass doors opening onto a private terrace. The city lights stretched out below us. For the first time in hours I could breathe. "Are you all right?" Cameron asked softly. He finally released my hand. I almost laughed. "All right. My husband just humiliated me in front of 300 people. The man I chose not to marry 25 years ago just declared his feelings in the same breath." "All right" seemed impossible. "I do not know," I said honestly. I wrapped my arms around myself. "I do not know anything anymore." Cameron took off his jacket and put it over my shoulders without asking. Smelled like expensive cologne and something else. Something that brought back memories I had been suppressing for decades. "You were studying industrial design," he said quietly. I was startled by the change in subject. "At State University. You were the most talented student in our program." My throat tightened. Nobody had mentioned my design work in years. Not since I packed away my portfolio to become Mrs. Derek Hayes, full-time wife and mother. That was a long time ago, I managed. Not so long that I have forgotten the chair design you created for Professor Cheng's class. The one with the curved support that distributed weight perfectly. Cameron's voice was warm with memory. He said it was the most innovative piece he had seen in 20 years of teaching. I closed my eyes, remembering. I had been so proud of that chair. So excited about what it represented. Had plans. Sketches for an entire furniture line that would change how people thought about comfort and support. I was going to revolutionize home design. Instead, I got pregnant with Jessica and married Derek. Those sketches ended up in a box in our attic, forgotten like so many dreams. "Why are you here, Cameron?" I asked. I needed to redirect before memories became too painful. "I mean, I know you own the hotel. But tonight." "Why tonight?" He was quiet for a long moment, looking at the city. When he spoke, his voice was careful. I've been keeping track of you, Victoria. Not in a creepy way, he added quickly, seeing my expression. But you were the love of my life. When someone matters that much, you do not just forget they exist. The love of his life. The word shocked me. I knew about the anniversary party, he continued. I knew Derek had booked the ballroom. I told myself I would not interfere, would not disrupt your life. But then I heard him rehearsing his speech this afternoon. My stomach dropped. You heard. He was in the presidential suite going over his remarks with his assistant. The walls are not as soundproof as guests think. Cameron's jaw tightened. He was laughing about it, Victoria. About how he was going to put you in your place. About how you needed to be reminded of your position in the marriage. The words hit like physical blows. Derek had planned it. Scripted my humiliation. Rehearsed it. 25 years of marriage reduced to a power play. I could not let it happen, Cameron said simply. I could not stand there and watch him destroy you. Destroy me. When was the last time anyone fought for me? When was the last time I fought for myself? Never. I had never fought for anything I wanted. I always chose the safe path. The expected path. Like choosing Derek over Cameron. The memory hit hard. I was 21 again, standing in my tiny apartment near campus, staring at two very different proposals. Cameron had been passionate, romantic, down on one knee in the campus garden with a ring he designed himself, a simple band with a small diamond. He had been broke, surviving on student loans. But his eyes burned with certainty when he said he loved me. I do not have much to offer you right now, he had said, his voice shaking. But I will spend every day making sure you never regret saying yes. Derek's proposal came 3 days later in an expensive restaurant downtown. His ring was traditional. 2 carats, flawless. He talked about security. About the life he could provide. About my future being safe with him. He had a plan. 5-year timeline for career advancement. Projected income charts. A list of neighborhoods for houses. Chose the plan. I chose security over passion. Certainty over possibility. I convinced myself it was the mature decision. I was such a fool. Do you remember the project we worked on together? Cameron asked suddenly. Senior year. The modular furniture design. Course I remembered. We spent 3 months developing furniture that could transform small spaces. Pieces that served multiple purposes. A complete rethinking of urban living. It was brilliant. Ahead of its time. Professor Martinez said it was graduate-level work, I whispered. It was better than graduate level. It was market-ready. Cameron turned to face me. We could have patented it. Started a company. But you dropped out to marry Derek. The guilt pressed down like a weight. I abandoned our project. Left Cameron to complete it alone. I'm sorry, I said. The words felt inadequate. I was young and scared. Do not apologize, he said firmly. I did not bring it up to make you feel guilty. I brought it up because 6 months after you left, Derek started a furniture company, Hayes Design Group. His first product line was remarkably similar to our project. The world tilted. What are you saying? I am saying your husband built his fortune on stolen ideas, Victoria. Ideas you helped create. The memory flooded back. Derek asking about my classwork. Showing interest in my projects for the first time since we started dating. I was so flattered. So eager to share my passion that I showed him everything. Every sketch. Every prototype. Every concept. He listened with apparent fascination. Asked detailed questions about materials and manufacturing. I thought he was trying to understand my world. Connect with the part of me he never cared about before. Instead, he was stealing it. The ergonomic office chair that launched his company. Cameron continued quietly. The one that could adjust to any body type. That was your design, was it not? It was. I sketched it during a late-night study session. Frustrated by uncomfortable dorm furniture. Derek found the sketch on my kitchen counter and studied it for an hour. Asked me to explain every detail. He said he wanted to understand my work, I whispered. My voice breaking. He said he was proud of my creativity. He was proud enough to claim it as his own. The betrayal hit in waves. Not just tonight humiliation, but 25 years of lies. 25 years of building a life on stolen dreams. 25 years of watching my husband take credit for my innovations while dismissing me as just a housewife. Every major breakthrough Hayes design has had, I said slowly. Pieces clicking into horrible clarity. The expandable shelving. The convertible workspace furniture. The sustainable materials. I helped develop all of those. I gave him the ideas. Helped solve the problems. And then he made you feel like you were lucky to be included in his success. Cameron finished. Made you feel like your contributions meant nothing. I thought about all the times I tried to talk to Derek about design. About ideas for improving his products. He would listen with that smile. Pat my hand. Tell me I did not understand the business side of things. He made me feel stupid for having opinions about an industry I once dreamed of changing. Why did you not say something? I asked. All these years, why did you not tell me? Cameron was quiet for a long moment. 'Cause you chose him. 'Cause you seemed happy. I did not want to be the bitter ex who could not let go. I hoped that maybe he really loved you enough to deserve you. He paused. Now I know better. Tonight proved he never understood what he had. He never saw you the way I saw you. The way I still see you. The way he still saw me. Present tense. After 25 years of silence. After building an empire while I disappeared. He still saw me as the woman I had been. The woman I forgot I could be. What am I supposed to do with this information, Cameron? I have children. Life. Responsibilities. You have choices, he said gently. Maybe for the first time in 25 years you have real choices. Choices. The word felt dangerous. I spent so long following the path laid out for me that I forgot there could be other paths. The offer I made in there, Cameron continued. About talking. About the future. I meant it, Victoria. I have built something real over these years. I have resources. Connections. Opportunities. I could help you reclaim what is yours. My marriage. Your marriage ended tonight, he said with certainty. The moment Derek humiliated you. The moment he reduced 25 years to diaper changing and charity. Your marriage ended. The only question is what comes next. What comes next? For 25 years I knew what came next. Another day of supporting Derek dreams while burying my own. Another day of being grateful for scraps. Another day of making myself smaller. I need time, I said finally. I need to think. Cameron reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. Take all the time you need. But when you are ready to remember who you really are, call me. I took the card. My fingers brushed his. The touch sent electricity through me. A reminder of feelings I spent 25 years suppressing. The woman who designed that chair, he said softly. The woman who could see possibilities where others saw limitations. She is still in there, Victoria. She has been waiting for someone to believe in her again. Believe in her. Me. When was the last time anyone believed in me? As Cameron walked away, leaving me alone with city lights and 25 years of revelations, I realized something that terrified and excited me. I wanted to remember who I really was. I wanted to find that woman again, even if it meant destroying everything I thought I knew about my life. The question was whether I had the courage to try. I did not go home that night. I could not face Derek. Could not walk into our house in Meadowbrook Estates and pretend everything was normal. Instead, I drove through the city until I found myself parked outside the old university campus, staring at the building where I once believed I could change the world. My phone buzzed non-stop since I left the hotel. Derek, the children, even guests from the party, probably calling to satisfy their curiosity. I turned it off an hour ago. Needed silence to think. Cameron business card sat on my dashboard, catching streetlight. I picked it up and put it down a dozen times, finger hovering over his number. What would I even say? When my phone finally rang at 7 in the morning, I almost did not answer. But the caller ID showed Jessica name. I could not ignore my daughter. Jessica's voice was small, uncertain. Where are you? Dad has been calling everyone. David is freaking out. What happened last night? Closed my eyes. 23 years of motherhood pressing down. How could I explain this to my children? "I'm okay, sweetheart," I said. "I just needed time to think." But that man, the one who said those things about you and Dad, who was he? The one who said those things. Not the one who humiliated me. Cameron was the one Jessica was questioning. "Someone I knew before I married your father," I said carefully. Silence stretched between us. Then quietly, "Are you coming home?" The word felt foreign now. Was that mansion really home? Or just another prison I helped build? "I do not know yet," I admitted. Jessica was quiet for a long moment. "Dad is really upset. He has been drinking since last night. Staying up making phone calls. He keeps saying he is going to ruin that man business. He called lawyers and Uncle Robert." Uncle Robert. Derek, brother. The one with connections everywhere. Of course Derek would call reinforcements. He never accepted defeat gracefully. Last night was the first time anyone challenged his version of reality. "Jessica," I said gently, "whatever happens between your father and me has nothing to do with you and David. You are both adults now. This is between us." "But Mom, I love you," I interrupted. "Have always loved you. But I need time to figure out what comes next." After I hung up, I sat in the car for another hour, watching students hurry across campus with backpacks and coffee cups. They looked so young, so full of possibility. Had I ever looked like that? Had I ever moved through the world with that kind of purpose? Once, before I learned to make myself smaller, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I know you are struggling with all of this. When you are ready to hear the whole story, I will be at the Riverside. Suite 1501. No pressure, just truth. The whole story. What more could there be?" But I knew I was going to go. I spent 25 years living with half-truths. If I was going to rebuild my life, I needed to know everything. The elevator ride to the 15th floor felt endless. I changed clothes at a department store. Traded my evening gown for jeans and a sweater. But I still felt exposed. What was I doing? What was I hoping for? Cameron answered the door before I could knock. Like he had been waiting. He looked different in daylight. More human. The silver in his hair more pronounced. Lines around his eyes from years of work. But his smile was the same. Warm. Genuine. Relieved. "Thank you for coming," he said, stepping aside to let me in. The suite was elegant but not showy. Warm neutrals. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Pot of coffee on the table with pastries. He prepared without being pushy about it. "I was not sure you would," he continued, gesturing for me to sit anywhere. I chose the chair by the window. Needed light to ground me. I almost did not. "This is complicated." "It does not have to be." Cameron sat across from me, leaving space between us. "I am not trying to complicate your life, Victoria. I am trying to simplify it. By telling me my marriage was built on stolen ideas. By declaring your feelings in front of 300 people." He had the grace to look embarrassed. The declaration was not planned. Seeing him humiliate you, I lost my temper. "Not my finest moment. But you meant it. What you said about waiting 25 years. Every word." The honesty in his voice shocked me. After years of Derek calculated responses, Cameron directness was overwhelming. "Why?" I asked. "You could have had anyone. You built an empire. Why hold on to feelings for someone who rejected you?" Cameron was quiet, looking at the city. "Do you remember the night before you accepted Derek's proposal? We were in your apartment working on the furniture project. You had been struggling with the stability problem for weeks." I remembered. I was frustrated to tears, convinced my design was flawed. "You were about to give up," Cameron continued. "You said it was impossible, that you were not smart enough. And then you had that breakthrough, the cross-support design that solved everything. Do you remember what you said when it worked?" I did. I had been so excited, so proud. I said it felt like flying. "You said it felt like flying," he repeated. And I realized I wanted to spend my life watching you have those moments. Watching you solve impossible problems. watching you create beautiful things. I wanted to build a life around your dreams taking flight. The memory was vivid. I could almost smell the coffee we drank, almost feel the excitement when the design came together. It was one of the last times I felt truly alive. But you chose safety instead, Cameron said. Not accusingly, just sad. And I understood why. Derek offered certainty. I was offering a leap of faith. I was scared, I whispered. I was 21 and terrified of making the wrong choice. No. And I spent 25 years wondering if I could have made it easier. If I could have offered more security. If I could have convinced you that taking the leap was worth it. You never tried to contact me. After I got engaged, you just disappeared. Cameron smiled ruefully. I went to Europe. Spent 5 years working for design firms in Milan and Tokyo. Trying to forget you. Did not work. But it taught me about business. About building something from nothing. When I came back, I was determined to create success that would have made you proud to choose me. He paused. And then I realized that building an empire out of wounded pride was hollow. I had everything I thought I wanted. But I was still missing the one thing that mattered. The one thing that mattered. Me. He was talking about me like I was precious. Worth waiting for. After years of being treated as an afterthought. It was dizzying. Cameron, I need to ask something. And I need complete honesty. He nodded seriously. Last night, when you said Derek built his business on our ideas, how much of his success actually came from my work? Cameron hesitated. I knew the answer would be bad. All of it, he said finally. Every breakthrough Hayes design has launched in 25 years originated from concepts you developed. Either from our college work or ideas you shared during your marriage. The room spun. All of it. Not just the original furniture line. Everything. The expandable shelving that made Hayes design famous. The sustainable materials that won awards. The space-saving solutions that revolutionized urban living. All mine. All stolen. How do you know that? I asked. Voice barely above a whisper. Because I have been watching Hayes design for 25 years. Waiting to see if Derek would create something original. He never did. Every innovation was a variation on work you already did. Sometimes he changed materials or proportions. But the core concepts were always yours. But how could you possibly know? Because I kept copies of everything we worked on together. Every sketch. Every prototype. Every brainstorming session. I told myself it was for professional reference. But really, I could not let go of the last pieces of you I had. He stood and walked to a briefcase by the window. He withdrew a thick portfolio. When he set it on the coffee table, my breath caught. It was my old sketch pad from senior year. The one I thought was lost. You kept this, I whispered, reaching out to touch the familiar leather. I kept everything, Cameron said quietly, including the original design for the chair. The one Professor Chen called revolutionary. The one that became the basis for Derek's first product line. I opened the portfolio with trembling hands. 25 years of suppressed memories flooded back. Page after page of detailed sketches. Innovative solutions to problems that would not become industry standard for years. Work I poured my heart into. Work I had been so proud of. Work I convinced myself was meaningless. He made me believe I was nothing, I said. Tears blurring my vision as I turned pages. He made me believe these were just silly student projects. They were not silly. They were brilliant. And they made him rich. Rich on my ideas. Successful on my innovations. Respected for stealing my dreams. What am I supposed to do with this? I asked, looking up through tears. Sue him. Destroy my children, father. Blow up my entire life for revenge. I am not asking you to destroy anything, Cameron said gently. I am asking you to reclaim what is yours. The ideas, yes. But more than that, I am asking you to reclaim yourself. Reclaim myself. The woman who designed these innovations. Who saw possibilities where others saw limitations. How? You start creating again, Cameron leaned forward. His eyes intense. You remember what it felt like to solve impossible problems. You let yourself dream big again. I am 56 years old, Cameron. I have been out of the design world for decades. Technology has changed. Markets evolved. Design is design, he interrupted. Good ideas are timeless. And you? He reached across and covered my hand with his. You were always the most innovative thinker I knew. That does not just disappear. His touch was warm, solid, real. For the first time in years, someone was seeing me. Really seeing me. Not as a wife or mother or accessory, but as myself. I have an offer for you, Cameron said, voice steady and sure. Not a romantic proposition. Not a rescue mission. A business opportunity. I raised an eyebrow, curious despite my upheaval. I am launching a new division of Riverside Hotels. Sustainable design consulting. Hotels worldwide are demanding eco-friendly, space-efficient solutions. But most design firms think in outdated ways. I need someone who can revolutionize hospitality spaces. My heart pounded. You are offering me a job. I am offering you a partnership. 50-50 ownership of the new division. Full creative control. A chance to see your ideas implemented globally. His grip tightened slightly. A chance to show the world what Victoria Hayes can really do. Partnership. Creative control. Global scale. The words awakened something dormant so long I forgot it existed. The salary would be $200,000 to start, Cameron continued. Plus profit sharing once established. But more importantly, you would own your work. Every design, every innovation, every breakthrough would be yours. Legally, publicly, permanently yours. Own my work. After 25 years of watching Derek profit from my ideas, the concept felt revolutionary. Cannot, I said automatically. The response so ingrained I did not think. I have responsibilities. Obligations. To whom? Cameron asked quietly. To the husband who humiliated you publicly. To the children who are adults with their own lives. To yourself. To myself. When was the last time I had an obligation to myself? I need time, I said. But even as I spoke, I could feel something shifting. A spark of old excitement. Old hunger to create something meaningful. Take all the time you need, Cameron said. But while you think, consider this. Right now Derek is probably planning how to discredit me. How to minimize what happened last night. He will try to convince everyone, including you, that I am just a bitter man trying to steal his wife. Are you not? I asked. Without accusation. I genuinely wanted to know. Cameron's smile was sad but honest. Maybe partly. But mostly, I am a businessman who recognizes exceptional talent. And someone who believes 25 years is long enough for brilliance to stay buried. Long enough for brilliance to stay buried. The phrase resonated like a bell. How long was I willing to keep burying who I was? How long was I willing to let fear keep me small? There is something else you should know, Cameron said, releasing my hand and reaching for another folder. About what Derek is planning next. My stomach clenched. What do you mean? My security team picked up some calls from your house last night. Calls to his lawyer, his brother, business associates. He is not planning to apologize or win you back, Victoria. He is planning to destroy you. Destroy me. How? Cameron's expression was grim. He is going to claim you are having a mental breakdown. That you are emotionally unstable. Possibly dangerous. He will use last night as evidence that you need psychiatric help. That you cannot be trusted to make rational decisions. The words hit like ice water. Course. Derek would not let me walk away. He would turn my moment of strength into evidence of weakness. My first act of self-preservation into proof of instability. He cannot do that, I said. But my voice sounded uncertain. He can try. And if he succeeds, if he convinces a judge you are mentally incompetent, he could gain control over your assets. Your medical care, your entire life. You would become his ward, legally obligated to submit to whatever treatment he deems necessary. The horror crashed over me. Not just divorce, not just humiliation, but complete legal subjugation. Derek would not just take my past, he would steal my future too. But if you had your own income, your own professional identity, your own legal standing. Cameron let the implication hang. You are saying I need to move fast. I'm saying you need to choose who you will be. The woman who lets herself be destroyed by a man who never deserved her. Or the woman who takes back everything he stole and builds something even better. I looked down at the portfolio. At years of work I forgot I was capable of. Then at Cameron. At the man who kept faith with my potential even when I lost faith in myself. For the first time in 25 years, I knew exactly what I needed to do. The only question was whether I had the courage. I drove home to Meadowbrook Estates in a daze. Cameron portfolio carefully secured in my passenger seat like precious cargo. The familiar tree-lined streets seemed different, smaller, like I was seeing them through new eyes. The massive houses with perfect lawns looked less like dreams fulfilled and more like beautiful prisons. Our house sat at the end of a curved driveway. All columns and manicured hedges. I once was so proud of this place. Now I wondered how many of my stolen ideas paid for those marble steps, those carved moldings, that 3-car garage. Derek Mercedes was in the driveway along with his brother Robert's silver BMW. Of course Robert was here. The cavalry arrived to help Derek manage the crisis of his wife developing a backbone. I sat in my car for several minutes, gripping the steering wheel, trying to gather courage. Through the large front windows I could see movement in the living room. 2 figures pacing, gesturing, planning what to do about me. My phone buzzed with another text from Jessica. Dad says you have been acting strange lately. Are you okay? Should I come home? Acting strange already. The narrative was shifting. Derek was laying groundwork for his mental instability defense, preparing to paint my moment of clarity as evidence of breakdown. I turned off the car and gathered my resolve. If I was going to do this, if I was really going to reclaim my life, I needed to move fast. Derek had 25 years of experience managing me, controlling the story, making me doubt my own perceptions. I could not let him do it again. The front door was unlocked. Derek never worried about security in our wealthy neighborhood. Why would he? He never had anything to fear from the person who posed the greatest threat. Victoria. His voice called from the living room before I closed the door. Is that you? Yes, I called back, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. It is me. I found them in the living room. Derek and Robert seated across from each other like generals planning a campaign. Papers spread across the coffee table. Legal documents by the look of them. They both looked up when I entered. Expressions carefully mixing concern and assessment. Sweetheart, Derek said, rising with the manner one might use with an invalid. We have been so worried. When you did not come home last night. I needed time to think, I said simply, staying near the doorway. Did not want to get trapped in the middle of the room. Robert stood as well. Expression professionally sympathetic. As Derek lawyer brother. He had plenty of practice managing difficult situations. Victoria, I think we should talk about what happened last night. Derek told me about the incident at the party. The incident. Already my humiliation was being reframed as something I caused. Something that needed managing rather than addressing. Has he? I asked, looking between them. And what exactly did he tell you? Derek's jaw tightened slightly. I told him about Cameron Reed's inappropriate behavior. How he inserted himself into our celebration. Made ridiculous claims about your past relationship. Ridiculous claims, I repeated, feeling cold anger settling in my chest. Which part was ridiculous, Derek? The part where he said he loved me? Or the part where he said I was talented? Victoria, Robert began. But I cut him off. Well, I want to hear from my husband. I want to hear him explain which part of what Cameron said was ridiculous. Derek's mask of concern slipped, revealing irritation underneath. The man is obviously unstable. He has been fixated on you for 25 years, building some fantasy around a college relationship that ended decades ago. Fantasy, I said slowly. So when he said I was a talented designer, that was fantasy. You took a few art classes, Derek said dismissively. Hardly the foundation for a career. Few art classes. I felt the familiar sting of his casual dismissal. But this time it came with something else. Clarity. For the first time, I could see exactly what he was doing. How he minimized my accomplishments to maintain his superiority. Industrial design, I corrected. I was studying industrial design. I was good at it. Robert cleared his throat uncomfortably. Perhaps we should focus on the present situation. Victoria, we are concerned that this man might be trying to manipulate you. Take advantage of what was obviously an emotional moment. Take advantage. Of course, that was their interpretation. Could not be that someone genuinely valued me, saw potential in me. It had to be manipulation. He offered me a job, I said quietly. The silence was deafening. Derek's face went through several expressions. Surprise, disbelief, anger, before settling on condescending amusement. A job. He laughed, the sound sharp and cutting. Sweetheart, you have not worked in 25 years. What kind of job could you possibly be qualified for? There it was. The casual cruelty that became so familiar I stopped noticing it. The automatic assumption that I was useless, unemployable, dependent on his charity for survival. A design position, I said, my voice gaining strength. Partnership, actually, in sustainable hospitality design. Robert and Derek exchanged a look. One of those male glances that said clearly what they thought about my intelligence, my judgment, my ability to assess reality. Victoria, Robert said gently, I think you need to consider that this man is not being entirely honest. Men like Reed do not offer partnerships to people without extensive professional experience. Men like Reed, successful men, men who built real empires, unlike women like me who just changed diapers. Unless, Derek added, his voice taking a nastier edge, he is not really interested in your design skills. The implication hung like a toxic cloud. Of course, any interest in me had to be sexual, predatory, inappropriate. The idea that I might have actual value was too far-fetched to consider. You think he offered me a partnership because he wants to sleep with me? I asked. Voice dangerously quiet. Think, Derek said carefully, that you are emotionally vulnerable right now. That men like Reed are experts at exploiting that vulnerability. Exploiting vulnerability. Everything about this conversation was about my weakness, my susceptibility, my inability to think clearly. They were not discussing my humiliation at the party, Derek's public cruelty, problems in our marriage. They were focused entirely on managing the threat I apparently posed. What would you like me to do? I asked, curious to hear their plan. Robert leaned forward, expression earnest and professional. We think you should consider getting some help. You have been under stress lately. Last night was obviously traumatic. There are excellent facilities that specialize in helping people work through these kinds of episodes. There was the word Cameron warned me about. My moment of self-respect being reframed as a mental health crisis requiring professional intervention. What kind of facilities? I asked, though I already knew. Residential treatment centers, Robert said smoothly. Places where you could get support to work through whatever you are going through. Away from external pressures and influences that might be confusing you. Away from Cameron. Away from anyone who might remind me I had options. That I deserved better. That I was worth more than Derek's version of charity. How long would this treatment last? I asked. Derek and Robert exchanged another look. As long as necessary, Derek said. Until you are feeling more like yourself again. More like myself. The irony was breathtaking. They wanted to send me away until I was willing to be the diminished version they were comfortable with. Until I stopped remembering I used to have dreams. Used to have talent. Used to believe I could fly. And if I refuse? The silence stretched uncomfortably. Finally Robert spoke. Victoria, if you are not capable of making rational decisions about your own well-being, then people who love you have to step in. There it was. The threat Cameron predicted. Delivered with lawyerly precision. Submit to treatment voluntarily or they would have me declared incompetent and force me into it. I looked around the living room. At expensive furniture I helped choose. Artwork we collected together. Family photos documenting 25 years of carefully curated happiness. None of it felt like mine anymore. It all felt like props in someone else's life. I need to get a few things from upstairs, I said finally. Course, Derek said. His relief evident. He thought I was surrendering, accepting their assessment. Take your time. We can discuss details when you are ready. I walked upstairs slowly, mind racing. They were giving me rope, expecting me to hang myself with compliance. Instead, I was going to use it to climb out. In our bedroom, I pulled out a small suitcase and began packing carefully. Not too much. Nothing suggesting I was not coming back. Just enough to survive a few days while figuring out my next move. At the bottom of my jewelry box, hidden beneath rarely worn accessories, I found my original university student ID. The photo showed a young woman with bright eyes and confident posture. Someone who believed she could change the world through good design. Someone who never learned to make herself smaller. I tucked the ID into my purse along with Cameron's business card and my old portfolio. Then I sat at the small writing desk by the window and composed 2 letters. The first was for my children. By the time you read this, I will have made a choice that might be difficult to understand. Your father will probably tell you I am having some kind of breakdown, that I need help. I want you to know I have never been thinking more clearly. I am not abandoning you. I am not choosing someone else over our family. I am choosing myself for the first time in 25 years. I am choosing to remember who I was before I learned to disappear. I love you both more than words can express. But I cannot keep living as half a person. I cannot keep pretending that diminishing myself is the same as keeping our family together. I hope someday you will understand. I hope someday you will be proud of me for finding the courage to fly again. All my love, Mom. The second letter was shorter, addressed to Derek. I accept your job offer. When you are ready to discuss partnership terms, you know how to reach me. B. But that letter was not for Derek. It was for Cameron. I sealed both letters. Left the first on my pillow. Tucked the second into my purse. Then I picked up my suitcase. Took one last look around the room that never really felt like mine and walked downstairs. Derek and Robert were still in the living room. Legal documents spread like battle plans. All set, Derek asked, looking up with that patronizing smile I once found comforting. Yes, I said. Think I am. I walked to the front door. Heart pounding so hard I was sure they could hear it. Any second now one of them would ask where I was going. Would notice I was carrying a suitcase instead of just my purse. But they did not. They were so certain of my compliance. So confident in their assessment of my limitations that it never occurred to them I might have my own plan. Victoria, Derek called as I reached for the door handle. I turned, expecting to be caught. Expecting to have to fight my way out. Drive carefully, he said. And call us when you get to the facility. We want to know you arrived safely. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Then I walked out the front door of the house I called home for 25 years. Got into my car. And drove away from everything I ever knew. I did not look back. For the first time in my adult life, I did not look back. The drive to the Riverside Hotel felt like flying. When I knocked on Suite 1501, Cameron answered immediately, like he had been waiting by the window again. His expression shifted from hope to concern when he saw my suitcase. Are you all right? He asked, stepping aside to let me in. I set down my suitcase and reached into my purse, pulling out the letter I wrote. I accept your job offer, I said, handing it to him. When can I start? Cameron read the letter, his expression shifting to something that might have been wonder. Are you sure about this? Once we move forward, there is no going back. Derek will fight this with everything he has. I know, I said, but I am tired of being afraid. I am tired of being small. I am tired of pretending I am grateful to be kept when I should have been building something of my own all along. Cameron smiled. Not the careful professional smile from our business discussions, but something warm and real and full of possibilities. In that case, he said, welcome to Reed Design Partners. I think we are going to build something extraordinary together. Something extraordinary. After 25 years of being told I was ordinary at best, the words felt like a promise and a challenge rolled into one. 3 weeks after I walked out of Derek's carefully controlled world, I was sitting in the bright modern office space Cameron secured for Reed Design Partners. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating drafting tables and computer workstations that would soon house our revolutionary approach to sustainable hospitality design. I had been working 16-hour days, partly because I was genuinely excited about the projects we were developing, mostly because I was terrified that if I stopped moving, I would lose my nerve and crawl back to the safety of my old life. The transformation had been swift and stunning. In just 3 weeks, I designed a modular hotel room system that could reduce construction costs by 30% while increasing energy efficiency by nearly half. The prototype had hotel executives flying in from around the world to see what we were creating. But success came with a price. My phone rang constantly since the first industry article about Reed Design Partners was published. Not with congratulations or business inquiries, but with increasingly frantic calls from Derek. I stopped answering after the first few conversations made it clear he was not interested in reconciliation. He was focused entirely on damage control. This morning voicemail had been particularly venomous. You think you can just walk away and play businesswoman? You think that man actually cares about your pathetic little sketches? I built everything you are trying to destroy, Victoria. Everything. And I am not going to let you take it away. I was reviewing the latest designs for our Singapore project when Jessica knocked on my office door. I looked up, surprised to see her. We spoke on the phone several times since I left, but she never visited my new workplace. She stood uncertainly in the doorway, looking younger than her 20 years. Do you have a minute? Course, sweetheart. Come in. I gestured to comfortable chairs by the window, clearing away architectural drawings covering every surface. Jessica sat down carefully, designer purse clutched in her lap like a shield. She was dressed in expensive casual wear that screamed private college student. Clothes Derek's stolen success purchased. I've been talking to Dad, she began. I felt my stomach clench. He is really worried about you. About this whole situation. I am sure he is, I said carefully. What exactly has he told you? Jessica shifted uncomfortably. He says you are having some kind of midlife crisis. That this man Cameron is taking advantage of you. That you are going to lose everything you worked for. Everything I worked for. The irony was breathtaking. And what do you think? I asked. I do not know what to think, Jessica said. Voice small. This place is amazing. You seem different. Happier. But Dad says you are making a huge mistake. That you are destroying our family for some fantasy. Family. I studied my daughter's face, seeing echoes of my own features mixed with Derek's stronger jawline. Jessica, do you remember much about me from when you were little? She frowned. What do you mean? Do you remember me ever working? Ever having interests outside of taking care of you and your brother? You volunteered at our schools. You organized charity events. You managed the household. But do you remember me ever creating anything? Ever pursuing my own dreams? Jessica was quiet for a long moment. No, she said finally. But that is what mothers do, right? They sacrifice for their families. Sacrifice for their families. There was the lesson I taught without meaning to. That women existed to serve others. That our own dreams were luxuries we could not afford. Jessica, I need to tell you something about your father business. About how Hayes Design really started. Over the next hour I showed her everything. The original portfolio Cameron preserved. The timeline of Derek innovations compared to my college work. The undeniable evidence that Hayes Design had been built on stolen ideas. Jessica went through several emotional stages as truth sank in. Disbelief. Anger. Confusion. Finally a kind of numb acceptance. All of it, she asked, voice barely above a whisper. Everything he built came from your work. Not everything, I said gently. Your father is a talented businessman. A skilled marketer. He knew how to take good ideas and turn them into successful products. But the ideas themselves, they were mine. Jessica stared at sketches spread across my desk, her face pale. Why did you never say anything? Why did you not fight for credit? Because I believed him when he said I was lucky to be included. Because I thought supporting his success was more important than claiming my own. Because I was young and scared, and I had been taught that good wives do not compete with their husbands. But now you are competing with him, Jessica said. Something in her voice I could not identify. Now I am finally being myself, I corrected. For the first time in 25 years, I am using my talents for my own benefit instead of someone else. Jessica was quiet for several minutes, studying the designs with new understanding. These are really yours. All of them. Every sketch, every concept, every innovation that made your father fortune. Paused, choosing words carefully. Jessica, I need you to understand something. I am not trying to hurt your father. I am not trying to destroy your security. But I cannot keep living as half a person just to preserve everyone else's comfort. What about us? Jessica asked. And now I could hear fear underneath her composure. What about me and David? If you are right about this, if Dad business really is based on stolen ideas, what happens to our future? It was a fair question. One I had been grappling with since I made my choice. I do not know, I admitted. But I do know that building your future on lies is no foundation at all. Before Jessica could respond, my phone rang. Cameron's name appeared on caller ID. I could see from his expression through the glass wall of his office that something was wrong. Excuse me, I told Jessica, then answered the call. What is it? Victoria, you need to come to my office immediately. We have a problem. I found Cameron pacing behind his desk. His usual composed demeanor replaced by something approaching agitation. Jessica had followed me, hovering in the doorway uncertainly. What is wrong? I asked. Cameron gestured to his computer screen displaying what looked like a legal document. Derek filed an injunction this morning. He is claiming all the design work you have done for Reed Partners is stolen intellectual property. Property that belongs to Hayes Design. My blood turned to ice. He cannot do that. Those designs are completely original. He is claiming they are derivative of work you did during your marriage, which under California law would make them community property. He is arguing that since you were unemployed and he was your sole source of financial support, any intellectual property you developed during the marriage belongs to both of you. But that is insane. I never worked on these specific projects during our marriage. It does not matter, Cameron said grimly. He does not have to prove the designs are identical. He just has to demonstrate they are based on techniques and concepts you developed while married to him. And given that your original portfolio clearly shows the foundation for everything you are doing now, the implications hit me like a physical blow. Derek was not just trying to hurt me. He was trying to steal my work again. Even now, even after everything, he was attempting to claim ownership of my creativity. There is more, Cameron continued. He also filed for an emergency restraining order, claiming you are mentally unstable and that I am manipulating you into making decisions that are harmful to your well-being and your family financial security. Jessica gasped from the doorway. I had forgotten she was there. Forgotten she was witnessing her parents' marriage implode in real time. What does that mean? I asked. Though I was afraid I already knew. It means that until the court hearing next week, you are legally prohibited from making any business decisions or entering into any new contracts. It also means that if the judge rules in his favor, you could be forced to return all compensation you have received from Reed Partners and undergo psychiatric evaluation. The room seemed to spin. In one brilliant legal maneuver, Derek had managed to paint me as both a thief and a mad woman. If he succeeded, I would lose everything. My newfound career, my financial independence, possibly even my freedom. Mom, Jessica said softly from the doorway. I turned to look at her. Is this why you left? Because you knew he would do something like this? I thought about her question, about the pattern of control and manipulation that characterized my entire marriage. Not specifically, I said. But yes, I knew Derek would never let me go without a fight. I knew he would try to destroy me rather than face the truth about what he did. Jessica walked into the office and sat down heavily. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. I nodded, bracing myself. Are you in love with Cameron? The question caught me off guard, not because it was inappropriate, But because I had not allowed myself to examine it carefully. I do not know, I said finally. I know that he sees me as a person worth respecting, worth investing in. I know he makes me feel capable and valuable in ways I forgot were possible. Whether that is love or just gratitude, I honestly cannot tell anymore. Cameron cleared his throat uncomfortably. Perhaps I should give you two some privacy. No, Jessica said firmly. You should hear this too. She turned to face me fully. Mom, I have been watching Dad for the past 3 weeks since you left. He has been drinking more, staying up all night making phone calls, obsessing over ways to get back at you and Cameron. He is not acting like a man who lost the love of his life. He is acting like someone who lost control of his property. The observation was so perceptive, so mature. I felt a surge of pride even in the middle of my crisis. What are you saying? I asked. I am saying that maybe it is time someone in our family chose truth over comfort. Jessica's voice was steadier now, more certain. Maybe it is time someone stood up to Dad instead of just enabling his behavior. I stared at my daughter, seeing her clearly for perhaps the first time in years. She was not just the spoiled college student I thought she was. She was a young woman capable of making hard choices, of seeing uncomfortable truths. Jessica, if I fight this, if I refuse to back down, things are going to get very ugly very quickly. Your father has resources, connections, legal expertise. He is going to make this as public and as painful as possible. I know, Jessica said simply. But Mom, I have seen your work over the past hour. I have seen what you are creating here. It is extraordinary. It is the kind of innovation that could change entire industries. Are you really going to let Dad steal that too? Let Dad steal that too. The phrase hit me like a revelation. This was not just about my current projects or my partnership with Cameron. This was about whether I was going to spend the rest of my life letting Derek claim ownership of my creativity, my intelligence, my very identity. I looked at Cameron, who had been watching this conversation with something that might have been amazement. What are our chances if we fight this? I asked. Honestly, it depends on the judge. On how well Derek lawyers present their case. On whether we can demonstrate that your current work is substantially different from your original designs. He paused. But Victoria, even if we lose in court, even if you have to walk away from this partnership, you will have proven something important, which is that you are not the helpless dependent woman he has been telling everyone you are, that you are capable of building something significant on your own, that you are worth fighting for, even if you have to do the fighting yourself, worth fighting for. After 25 years of accepting whatever scraps of respect Derek was willing to offer, the concept felt revolutionary. I thought about the young woman in those college sketches, the one who believed she could change the world through good design. I thought about the mother I wanted Jessica to become, strong, independent, unafraid to claim her own worth. I thought about the woman I glimpsed in the mirror this morning, confident and purposeful in a way I had not been since I was 21. Then we fight, I said, voice steady and sure. We fight with everything we have. Jessica smiled. The first genuine smile I had seen from her in years. And Mom, for what it is worth, I think you are going to win. As I looked at my daughter and my business partner, at the innovative designs covering every surface of our bright office, I realized something that filled me with quiet joy. I had already won, regardless of what happened in court, regardless of Derek threats and manipulations. I had already reclaimed the most important thing of all, myself. The courthouse on Tuesday morning looked imposing. Gray stone, columns, architecture designed to remind ordinary people they were entering a place of serious business. But as I walked up those steps with Cameron beside me, I felt anything but ordinary. I was wearing a navy blue suit I bought specifically for this hearing, the first professional clothing I purchased in 25 years. My hair was pulled back in a sleek style. I carried a leather briefcase containing not just legal documents but every piece of evidence proving who I really was. Derek was already there when we entered the courtroom, flanked by his team of expensive lawyers. Robert sat behind him along with several business associates, whose presence was clearly meant to demonstrate the serious financial interests at stake. They all looked supremely confident, like men who never doubted their right to win. Derek caught my eye and smiled. That same patronizing smile I endured for 25 years. It was meant to remind me I was out of my league. That I should be grateful he was willing to take me back after my little rebellion. Instead, it reminded me of everything I was fighting against. Judge Patricia Holloway was a woman in her early 60s with sharp eyes and graying hair pulled back in a no-nonsense style. She reviewed preliminary documents with focused attention that suggested she was not easily impressed by legal theatrics. "This is an unusual case," she said, looking up from her papers. "We have a request for an injunction claiming theft of intellectual property combined with allegations of mental incapacity. Mr. Hayes, you are claiming that your wife's current business activities constitute theft of marital assets." Derek, lead attorney, a sleek man named Harrison Weber, stood to address the court. "Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Hayes has taken proprietary design concepts developed during her 25-year marriage and used them to benefit a competing business enterprise. Under California community property law, those concepts belong equally to both spouses. And you are also claiming Mrs. Hayes lacks mental capacity to make these business decisions. We are concerned about Mrs. Hayes' emotional state, Your Honor. She abandoned her family home without warning, entered into business partnerships with a man she barely knows, has been making increasingly erratic decisions. We believe she may be experiencing a psychological crisis affecting her judgment." I felt my lawyer Janet Morrison tense beside me. We prepared for this attack, but hearing it stated so clinically in open court was still jarring. "Mrs. Morrison," Judge Holloway said, "how does your client respond to these allegations?" Janet stood with quiet confidence. She was a woman about my age who built her reputation defending professionals in intellectual property disputes. "Your Honor, Mrs. Hayes is not mentally incapacitated, nor has she stolen anyone's intellectual property. What she has done is finally reclaim her own creative work after 25 years of watching her husband profit from her ideas." "That is a serious counter-allegation," the judge noted. "You are claiming Mr. Hayes built his business on his wife's designs." "We are, Your Honor, and we have extensive documentation to prove it." What followed was the most surreal hour of my life. Janet methodically presented the evidence we prepared. My original college portfolio, the timeline of Hayes design product launches, testimony from Professor Chan who remembered my work, even statements from former Hayes design employees who confirmed I had been the source of many innovative concepts over the years. Watching Derek's face as truth unfolded was both satisfying and heartbreaking. He clearly expected this to be a simple matter of asserting male authority over a wayward wife. The idea that I might have legal standing, might have evidence, might actually be telling the truth was obviously something his lawyers had not prepared him for. But the most important moment came when Judge Holloway asked me to address the court directly. "Mrs. Hayes," she said, "I would like to hear from you personally. Can you explain why you left your marriage and entered into this business partnership?" I stood slowly, heart pounding but voice steady. "Your Honor, I left my marriage because I realized I had been living as half a person for 25 years. I convinced myself that supporting my husband's dreams was the same as having dreams of my own. I accepted that being grateful for his success was enough, even when that success was built on my work." Pause. Looking directly at Derek. For 25 years I told myself that love meant sacrifice, that good wives do not compete with their husbands, that being kept was a privilege I should be grateful for. But that night at our anniversary party, when my husband publicly reduced my contributions to diaper changing and luck, I finally understood I had not been loved. I had been managed. Derek's lawyer started to object, but Judge Holloway waved him off. "Continue, Mrs. Hayes. The business partnership I entered with Mr. Reed is not built on stolen ideas, Your Honor. It is built on ideas I never got to develop because I was too busy supporting someone else's career. It is built on concepts I created after I left my marriage, using skills I forgot I had. Yes, those skills were developed during my marriage. But they were developed by me. They are mine. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out a folder containing my most recent designs. The modular hotel system, revolutionizing sustainable hospitality design. These are the designs Mr. Hayes claims belong to him, I said, handing the folder to the judge. They were created 3 weeks ago in my new office, using software I taught myself, using concepts I developed independently. They bear no resemblance to anything in my original college work or anything Hayes Design has ever produced. They are entirely my own creation. Judge Holloway examined the designs carefully, comparing them to earlier work we submitted as evidence. After several minutes, she looked up. Mr. Weber, can you point to any specific similarities between these current designs and the work your client claims ownership of? Derek lawyer shuffled through papers, clearly struggling. The techniques are similar, Your Honor. The underlying approach to space utilization, the sustainable materials focus. Those are industry standards. Judge Holloway interrupted. Any competent designer would use those approaches. I am asking about specific design elements that demonstrate actual theft of intellectual property. Weber consulted with his team for several minutes before admitting. The designs are substantially different in their specifics, Your Honor. You see. Judge Holloway turned to me. Mrs. Hayes, regarding allegations of mental incapacity, how do you respond? This was the moment I both dreaded and anticipated. Your Honor, if recognizing my own worth constitutes mental illness, then I suppose I am guilty as charged. If leaving a marriage where I was treated as decorative property rather than a partner constitutes instability, then I accept that label. But if we are defining mental health as the ability to think clearly, make rational decisions, and pursue meaningful work, then I have never been healthier in my life. I gestured toward the courtroom where several hotel executives had come to observe. In the 3 weeks since I left my marriage, I designed a revolutionary hospitality system already attracting international attention. I established professional relationships with industry leaders who value my expertise. I created more innovative work than I produced in the previous 25 years combined. That is not the behavior of someone mentally incapacitated. Judge Holloway was quiet for several minutes, reviewing all the evidence we presented. Finally, she looked up. Mr. Hayes, she said, addressing Derek directly, I have reviewed the evidence presented by both sides. While it is clear your wife did contribute significantly to your business success over the years, it is also clear her current work represents original creation, not theft of existing intellectual property. Do you have any evidence contradicting this assessment? Derek stood slowly, his confidence finally cracking. Your Honor, my wife is. She is not the same person she was. This man has filled her head with ideas about independence and careers. She is 56 years old. It is too late for her to start over. The words hung in the air like a confession. There it was. Derek's real concern was not about stolen property or mental illness. It was about control. About a woman who dared to claim her own life at an age when he believed she should be grateful for whatever he was willing to give. Mr. Hayes, Judge Holloway said quietly, the court job is not to determine whether your wife's life choices are wise or appropriate. The court job is to determine whether she is legally competent to make those choices and whether she committed any crimes in doing so. He paused, expression stern. Based on evidence presented today, I find Mrs. Hayes is clearly competent to make her own business decisions. I also find there is no evidence she committed theft of intellectual property. Her current work, while building on skills developed during her marriage, represents original creation that she owns independently. I felt my knees almost buckle with relief. Janet squeezed my arm supportively. Therefore, the judge continued. The request for an injunction is denied. The request for psychiatric evaluation is denied. Mrs. Hayes is free to continue her business partnership and retain any compensation she has received. She looked directly at Derek. Mr. Hayes, I strongly advise you to consider whether pursuing this matter further is in anyone's best interest. The evidence suggests your wife's contributions to your business success were far greater than you have acknowledged. Continuing to challenge her right to independent success could result in uncomfortable questions about the true origins of your own wealth. The threat was subtle but unmistakable. If Derek kept pushing, the court might start examining just how much of Hayes' design really belonged to him. As we left the courthouse, I felt something I had not experienced in 25 years. Complete, unqualified victory. Not just legal victory, but personal vindication. A public acknowledgement that I was capable, competent, valuable. Jessica was waiting on the courthouse steps, having driven down from college to hear the verdict. When she saw my expression, she smiled. The same bright, confident smile I had at her age before I learned to dim my own light. "How did it go?" she asked, though my face probably told her everything. "Your mother," Cameron said, voice warm with admiration, "was magnificent." Later that evening, I stood on the balcony of my new apartment overlooking downtown. A glass of champagne in my hand. The lights of the city spread out below like scattered stars. It was a modest place compared to the mansion in Meadowbrook, but it was mine. Every piece of furniture, every decoration, every choice reflected my taste rather than someone else's vision of who I should be. My phone had been ringing all afternoon with congratulations from colleagues, interview requests from industry publications, business proposals from hotels around the world who heard about our innovative approach to sustainable design. The woman once dismissed as unemployable was now being courted by Fortune 500 companies. But the call that meant the most had come from David, my son, who had been silent through most of the divorce proceedings. "Mom," he said, voice quiet but certain, "I owe you an apology. I have been talking to Jessica about everything that happened, about Dad business and your work. And I am sorry. I am sorry I did not see it sooner. I am sorry I did not stand up for you." "You do not need to apologize," I told him. "You were raised to see me a certain way. We all were. But I should have looked closer, should have asked questions. You are brilliant, Mom. You always were. I guess I never thought about where Dad ideas really came from." Now standing on my balcony, I thought about the young woman who designed that revolutionary chair in college, who believed she could change the world through good design. She had been buried for 25 years under layers of compromise and diminished expectations. But she never really died. She just was waiting. The door behind me opened. Cameron stepped onto the balcony carrying his own glass of champagne. We maintained strictly professional boundaries during legal proceedings. But now, with the court case behind us and our partnership secure, we could finally acknowledge what had been building between us. "Penny, for your thoughts," he said, moving to stand beside me at the railing. "I was thinking about time," I said. "About how 25 years seemed like such a long time to wait. But now it feels like preparation. Like everything I went through was teaching me to value what I have now." "And what do you have now?" I looked at him. This man who kept faith with my potential even when I lost faith in myself. Then out at the city where I was building something entirely my own. "Everything," I said simply. "Have everything." Cameron reached for my hand. I did not pull away. His touch was warm, solid, real. Not the desperate grasping of someone trying to possess me, but the gentle connection of someone who valued who I was. Now I am curious about you who listened to my story. What would you do if you were in my place? Have you ever been through something similar? Comment below and let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching until the end.